Hey folks, Force Captain Meph here with some very exciting news. We here at Hey Adora are launching our Patreon. We have all sorts of really cool perks for everybody. We have bonus episodes, live hangouts, Facebook groups, exclusive playlists, and so much more. So join the rebellion and become a patron of Hey Adora. You can find the link to our Patreon at heyadora.gay. That's right, .gay. Hey folks, and welcome to Hey Adora, your queer She-Ra podcast. I'm Force Captain Meph, they, them.
And I am Princess Jenny, she, her.
And today we are discussing Season 1, Episode 12, Light Hope, or Hack the Planet!
Yes, that's a good one. All right, where are we?
We are in the Crystal Castle.
Yes, we're picking up exactly where we left off at the end of the last episode. Well, not exactly. The scene before the end where Adora let go of the ledge. She let go.
She let go.
So what happened next?
So Adora is yelling and falling through the tunnel of traumatic memory.
Mm-hmm.
We have Shadow Weaver and Glimmer and Bow and Sweet Baby Catra saying every hero needs a sidekick, right? And... you know, of course, the Entrapta refrain of, I just need a little more time, because as we know, this is the falling trauma tunnel.
Yes, this is like the reverse birth canal.
Yeah, reverse birth canal. Would that be like...
she's going back into an inside place to work this shit out, and it's like, it's traumatizing, it's not liberating.
No, you're... Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's the falling trauma tunnel is the reverse birth canal. I like that.
All right. Well, we always have our own unique take on things. That's why we're so good together.
That's why we vibe.
Yes. So she's just screaming and falling in blackness until she opens her eyes and realizes that she's not falling anymore. She's standing in the Light Hope's bi-hologram chamber.
The hologram chamber of bisexual lighting and
bisexual
Art Deco
holograms. Yes,
bisexual hologram lighting and Art Deco design.
Yes, it's beautiful. And so the first little banter conversation that she has is basically like the question of, is this real? Which is a really delicious conversation to be having in this moment. Ooh. But I also love like the way she comes to it. She's like, oh, Light Hope, finally seeing you. Well, I've seen you in my brain, I think. But this is real. Is this real? Like all of that just to be like, okay, but is this real? Was that other thing real? What do we think of as real even?
Right. And then we see like towards like at the end of the episode that she's in like this like laying on this table type of situation.
She's still in the holodeck chamber. It doesn't make sense, though, because we saw them both walk in and immediately speak to another hologram when they had just walked in.
Right, so do you think, like, when she was let go, she then kind of, like, fell and then, like, maybe was knocked out?
That's exactly what I was thinking. She fell and maybe she was captured by a built-in part of the system that was, like... a beam, and then it places her gently on the holodeck pad, and then it proceeds from there. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and then Light Hope talks directly into her brain because she can?
Yeah, I don't know what the point of that was even, because she also is able to project herself as a hologram just in the room. But she wanted to be able to show Adora anything she wanted. That was probably easier inside her brain.
Yeah. Also, I think that this may just be another indication of magic.
Indeed. It could be that.
It just might be magic.
It just might be magic, folks.
So we have Adora questioning reality, as we all do.
Yes, as we all do. And I started to go down a rabbit hole with, like, Marx and the camera obscura. And, how do you codify what is real? Things that create real experiences and real conditions are real. Right? If it affects you. Yep. But, then I realized that I was spinning way too deep and we still have to talk about what happens in the episode. So I let it go for now, but we will definitely come back to that.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that because I love using the phrase instead of things being real and not real, being real in the observable universe.
What's the observable universe?
The reality that we are all consenting to and therefore are all observing together.
Oh, that's tough, because how do we know that we're all consenting to the same thing, Meth?
See, there we go. Let's get weird.
No, I was talking more about, like, in class consciousness in a classical, in a theory way with, Marx and the camera obscura. This is the whole social political theory that relates to the old-timey camera that actually is just based on your eye, that when you put images through this filter, it projects in reverse. And so that was a metaphor for people, individuals feeling alienated from the products of their own labor, or even from their life in society, feeling alienated from the government, for example, as if it's totally alien from us and it just fell out of the sky. But really, it's just things created by people. We all, in theory, consented to it. We are all people creating, our own conditions that then flip back and control us. So it's the classic, like, I think, therefore I am, versus like, no, you don't create what you are in your thoughts. Your thoughts don't create your reality. Your reality shapes your thoughts.
Right.
And so that's, a very deep commentary on the nature of this episode, especially as it's setting it up for the rest of their journey. Don't you think?
I love this. I do love this. And also, like, and then at what point is the consent that you're having consent versus how it's manufactured? Was it Noam Chomsky that was manufacturing consent? Yeah.
Noam Chomsky wrote Manufacturing Consent. I fucking love that guy.
I do too. And the fact that we're bringing up both Noam Chomsky and Marx when we are introduced to Lighthope, to Swiftwind, who is kind of a superficially leftist character. And those are two pretty solid leftist thinkers.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just saying that's a good moment to sort of suggest, it's a metaphor in a way for the rest of what's coming.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that even if you don't catch it, you might subconsciously catch it, which is cool.
So then Adora meets Lighthope, and Lighthope says, I've been watching you since you were an infant, but I could not reach you or protect you from the Horde. I watched you grow up from afar, and Adora's like, wow, that's kind of creepy.
That's kind of creepy.
Lighthope is like, creepy.
Indeed.
I have been called this before. And,
yeah. You watch a lot of people grow up without their consent. Just watch them all the time.
Yeah, and then Lighthope is like, I chose this form so as not to alarm you, but if it doesn't suit you, I will choose another. And this is where I want to talk about the aesthetic concept of the uncanny valley. Professor Smartbrain putting on their Professor Smartbrain hat here.
Okay, let's hear it, Professor Smartbrain.
The concept itself was defined by a Japanese robotics professor. His name was Masahiro Mori. The uncanny valley is the hypothesized relation between an object's degree of resemblance to a human being and the emotional response of that object. The concept suggests, this is straight from Wikipedia and then I'll explain it, that humanoid objects that imperfectly resemble actual human beings provoke uncanny or strange familiar feelings in the observers. And the valley denotes a dip in the human observer's affinity for a replica. So the closer something is to a human, but isn't quite there, like a replica is to a human, the more creeped out we are by it because we recognize how it's not human.
I totally knew this, but I didn't know what it was called.
Yep.
Because I don't know how many other visual geeks knew this, or just regular geeks, all the geeks. Back when the original Toy Story came out, the first Toy Story movie, I remember they said, that was when they were playing around with like how to present characters in this medium, and they said they were able to get more realistic, but it tested very badly. People didn't like it. It creeped them out.
Right.
So they went backwards to make them less realistic because that was more pleasing.
Yep, exactly. And so here's the fun thing about it. Not fun, but, here's more of the theory, I should say. So it applies to how anthropomorphized objects, and that's what we're calling, because they're... Anthropomorphized objects and characters react emotionally. So that's what we're also doing here with Lighthope, too. Like, it's not necessarily the physicality of it, but it's the combination of of what Lighthope is presenting as, and how this character is reacting emotionally. And I like to, it's the spark behind the eyes, the spark of humanity behind the eyes. And one thing that has been observed in this is that if this anthropomorphized object is moving, it elicits more of a emotional negative response versus if it's still. So if it's moving or speaking, humans automatically identify it as something that is other. and as something that is fucking creepy. So
moving or speaking.
And or speaking.
Because Light Hope is obviously always speaking.
Light Hope is always speaking, but is speaking with that flat affect, and that flat affect is creepy. So yes, Light Hope has definitely been creepy like that. So flat affects are always creepy, and then
I don't know. I didn't think it was that creepy. Is there something wrong with me?
Well, no. Well, so maybe not.
Maybe there is.
Well, because there's also humor in it, which is the other thing that I'm going to.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go there.
So then we have Light Hope, being, our our uncanny valley facilitator of Etheria, right?
Right.
And Adora's like, oh, this is creepy. And Light Hope is like, oh, yes, well, I will attempt to choose another form. And Light Hope turns into a child. And Adora says, oh, that's definitely way worse.
Yeah, and I get the joke there, but I don't think it's funny. Like, I don't think that kid is particularly creepy. Certainly not any more creepy than Light Hope.
And this is what I actually wrote down an explanation about why this is both creepy and a joke. So follow me on this one. This one's a little deep.
Yes.
Uncle Matt
Give it
might
to
have
me.
smoked a little bit too much weed and came up with this one. Okay, so flat affect children are presented as creepy. It's a trope that's used in horror films. We have like Children of the Corn, Village of the Damned, The Shining, etc. Because
that's true.
Because the and here's where I came. This is my own Professor Smartbrain stuff. The juxtaposition of the expected playfulness, innocence, and inherent goodness of humanity is in childhood. Like, it's understood in media to be portrayed by childhood. That's why, like, bad children tropes are in horror movies, right? Because it subverts that. The flatness and seriousness of this makes the child, takes the playfulness and innocence, the expected playfulness, innocence, and inherent goodness of humanity in a child, and replaces it with this flatness and seriousness, which then makes it inhuman, which is this juxtaposition that our brains don't get. It's scary because it's unexpected, which is also how humor works.
Yes, indeed.
So humor also works by replacing the expected result with the unexpected result. And that is why this scene can shift so quickly between horror and comedy.
That's a thin line. Wow. Good one. Fucking good one, Professor Smartbrain.
Thank you. This has been Math's Professor Smartbrain moments.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to do some extra credit work on that one, if I may.
Please do.
It's a great topic.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Love it.
Cool.
But also, that's a very telling stereotype in terms of the way the world perceives autistic children and a lot of differently abled children who have emotional and developmental disorders.
Yes.
And maybe the reason I was like, I don't get why it's creepy is because, I've spent years working with autistic children and I don't find them creepy or weird.
You're right. And that does other, right? That
othering is for if you've never had experience with it.
Right.
It seems so strange to you.
Right.
Unless you can see it normalized. And I have seen like little tiny snippets of, legit like young children's media starting to at least have characters that normalize autism and some other developmental delays and, developmental differences for young kids. So thank God. It's about time.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Light Hope then starts to morph, and then everything gets grotesque. So it turns into this like body horror moment too, where Light Hope goes from a child to like this like amorphous blob.
Right, and you're supposed to insert your own worst nightmares of like, oh my God, what could it be?
Yep, and it's like, and it also morphs with visibly. So we have like visible distortions, digital distortions, and like what is it, concaving, and
I mean, I just saw light. We didn't see what she was turning into.
There was some like she was like melting and bubbling and
either way it works, however you perceive it.
Exactly. And then audio glitches and everything, and Adora's like, no, stop, please, this is terrifying. And then we have our our comedy cold open,
and then we got some credits.
We're gonna win in the end, or do we? We do.
I think we will.
I think so too.
Yes.
And we get to Bisexual Bright Moon.
Yes. We get to go straight into Glimmer's room, where Glimmer is having a hard time.
She's going through it.
She is pacing and glitching out. And I cannot remember if it was you or Ashley who had the theory that maybe stress brings on her glitching.
I think it was Ashley.
Yeah, I think it was Ashley too. And I think that is strongly suggested here because she's obviously stressed as fuck. Mm-hmm. And she's glitching out like crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Because she's worried about Adora.
Aww.
She's so worried about Adora that she walks into her poofy chair. And she is mad at whoever decided to put it there, who is obviously herself.
Right. What kind of monster puts a chair here?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, so, time for Bo to come, what's the word? Handle her.
Yeah. Bless.
Thank God.
Bless
It's
Bo.
a good time for something to come and see the princess.
Why? What?
What?
It's their horse.
It's a fantastic entrance for a character.
It totally is. It totally is.
And we've waited almost the entire season for Swiftwind to actually appear.
Right. They keep teasing it out, right?
Right. So now he's finally here and he gets this epic entrance and his mane is flowing and, there's stars shining around him because he's like exuding magic.
Yeah. He's exuding what, Jenny?
Magic. Oh, yes.
I love that.
So,
yeah.
Swiftwind's entrance is super gay.
So, we all know that we all know.
Yes, that Swiftwind entering the show with his big rainbow pegacorn self is gay.
I love that Bo automatically recognizes him as their horse.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's our horse.
Yes, and Swiftwind lets us know right away that he is no one's horse. He is Swiftwind.
Comrade Swiftwind. And
yes.
Yep, so we meet Comrade Swiftwind here, not really getting into his horse liberation theory, but
it's great. He just puts it out there right away, and, every parent who is watching with young children, even if they're partly like, oh, it's awesome that they're teaching them this, is also partly like, oh, fuck me. Because now my child is going to be obsessed with, like, Mommy, let's go free all the horses.
Yes.
Like, for real. They're not going to stop talking about that anytime soon.
No, I mean, that's fucking legit. And as we've had many conversations about this before, Swiftwind is a pegacorn or an alicorn.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, we just need to review his initial dialogue with Bo and Glimmer because it's so perfect.
Let's do it.
Our horse! He lets us know he's his own horse. Our horse can talk! He lets us know, like, yeah, I can talk now. Pretty crazy. He has wings! They just, are not going to get it together.
Yeah. He's a talking horse!
And Swiftwind himself is like, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing. And then finally he's like, all right, I'm going to give you a second to freak out. And then we need to get down to business.
Yep.
Right?
And then Swiftwind is like, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Great. So, I think Adora needs our help. And then we establish that he has a sacred bond. Like, he can just, it's instinct. He can feel her. They're tied together. Some sort of,
he can sense when she's in trouble.
Sense when she's in trouble. They have some sort of, soul bond or some shit.
It's a Swiftie sense.
The Swiftie sense is tingling, so.
Yes. And he needs Bo and Glimmer to help because they're part of Adora's herd.
I know. I loved that part. Aw, part of Adora's herd.
Yeah, he gets it.
And of course, Glimmer and Bo are like, abso-fucking-lutely.
As she's glitching, Glimmer is like, of course, I'm down.
Yes, absolutely.
Bo knows Queen Mom will not approve, or he thinks he knows.
Yeah.
And Glimmer's regular solution is at her fingertips.
She's like,
she doesn't need to know.
Yeah, we'll just sneak out the back. It's fine.
Even though I can... Oh, well, no. Right now she can't teleport. I was going to say, even though I can teleport, let's sneak out.
Yeah, no, they're gonna sneak out the window.
As per usual.
They're gonna go in the back way.
Except, oops, hi, Mom. What you doing here?
Oops. And Angela's like, Angela is not fazed at all. It's like, cool, so I'm coming to see why there's a guard escorting a horse into your room. And then she sees Swiftwind talking and is like, I'd like to think of myself more as a talking horse. And Angela's like, I'm a fucking immortal angel. I've seen weirder shit.
Yeah.
This is fine. Whatever. So.
For sure. And then she tells them to get going. Glimmer can't believe it. She's like, you're really not going to try to stop us? Is this a trick?
Right.
No, it's not a trick. And then we get another 50-cent word. I love when they throw in a few like decent vocab words. And, you know, if kids don't know it, then at least they're going to want to go look it up. Like, oh, what does that word mean? She says, I will not consign you to the same regrets that she has over giving up after Mike died.
Yeah, Angie and Mike.
So she wants her daughter not to repeat her mistakes, and she recognizes that. That's a great breaking of a cycle.
It is. Oh, yeah. We love character growth. Go Ange.
Yeah, we do.
So then she turns into, she's like, Commander Glimmer, not in that silly voice, but, Commander Glimmer, I order you to continue your mission to find Adora and bring her back home. And, of course, Glimmer is like, right away, let's go. And
everyone salutes. And
Swiftwind is like, oh, by the way, since I have your ear, let's talk about horse revolution.
Yes. And I have a note here that, like, and now the sound of a million baby gay animal rights activists receiving their call.
Why can't we free all the horses in the stable? The children say to themselves.
All the animals. There are animals that aren't free.
And we should free all the... And then they open the doors and then they let the cats out and, chaos happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that once. I let my next door neighbor's dog loose because they kept him in this tiny outdoor kennel 24 hours a day. Aww. And he barked all the time. Aww. And I was 6 and I just didn't think it was just.
Oh.
So one time when my best friend was over and we sort of talked to each other, we egged each other on, We snuck out. We snuck out in the middle of the night and let the dog out of his little outdoor kennel.
Aww.
And we set him free in the wild suburbs. And guess who had to go find him and bring him home the next day?
Was it you?
It was us.
Yeah, I'm really good at this game.
Yeah, you're a champ.
I used deductive reasoning for this.
Yes. So domesticated animals don't want to be freed.
No.
I mean, maybe they do, but they're still going to come home at mealtime.
They're still going to come home at mealtime, yeah. So, we have well wishes and careful wishes from Angie to the kids, and then we got to the Fright Zone and sweet baby Catra.
Yes, it's Entrapta's lab. And Catra's like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? You dropped a note on my head that said, come to my lab. Of course I got it. Yes. If you were over my head, you could have just said, hey, come to my lab. But Catra's like, okay, fine, what? Yeah. Entrapta shows Catra all the data from the first one's crystals she got. And I spent way too much time thinking about how some people say data and some people say data. And nobody's ever going to win this fight. I say both. Really? Yeah. I'm never going to say data. Yeah. It just doesn't come naturally to me. Yeah, I say both. I think it depends on what I'm talking about. So they're starting to talk about the actual shit, but then they get sidetracked because Catra wants to know where all the stuff in this room came from, all the sciencey stuff. Yeah. And Entrapta's like, oh, well, here and there. Rooms. Catra's like, well, were there people in these rooms? And Entrapta says, well, not when I went back to take the stuff. And Catra then says, be gay, do crimes. Yes. And that's, a little moment where, I don't know, it's hard to know what to make of that. Because on the one hand, it's not like everyone in the Horde wants Catra and Entrapta to come steal all their shit. Yeah, but I mean, Catra is also like, hey, this is cool. You're one of us. You're, you're willing to bend some rules. And I think it's not just like, not just you belong in the Horde, but you belong in my crew because we are iconoclasts. We're going to bend the rules. We're going to go out on a limb here to get our shit done. Okay. Let's move over to Scorpia. What's she doing? Oh, she's sitting there. She's taking notes. Oh, yeah. Entrapta is giving us a little Entrapta exposition here. There's a lot of world building in this episode, and we're going to get a lot of it from Entrapta and Light Hope. So we're going to have some exposition-y stuff from Entrapta. I love this. Look at these readings. It's incredible. This seems to confirm my theories about the techno-organic nature of First One's machinery, resulting in the thermatological compatibility between magic and science. And I loved that she used the phrase thermatological compatibility. I'm sure you know what that word means, don't you? Thermatological is pertaining to the practices of magic. Yes. Or magic. Yes. It's not just magic. It's specifically the workings of magic, the doings of the magic. Because I looked up the etymology, as you knew I would, because I'm a big gay nerd. Yes, I did. And the two root words that, carry over from the Greek and then into Latin, that are the root of this word. One is, the making's the maker, and the other one is the theater.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you know me, you know that I love the theater of magic as much as the magic of magic.
Yes,
so,
exactly. So it's really the doing of the magic. So that word doesn't have any science-y half of it. So
Not
there's
really.
nothing to be compatible. It's just one, it's just some big talk to get people excited.
Yeah.
And, people at home can imagine magic and science compatibility. But the truth is, if magic wanted to use science, there wouldn't need to be compatibility. Magic could just magic the science however it wanted. But again, I'm going to let that go because this is an all ages show.
Yeah.
And some of it you have to just let go for the kids.
Yeah, anyway, we're going to let it go for the kids. And then Catra's like, cool, we love 50-cent words here, but let's take this back a couple of steps.
Yeah, Catra doesn't love 50-cent words.
Yeah, Catra's like,
she's
fuck
like,
this.
say it normal. And then Entrapta's like, well, Scorpia seems like she gets it.
And Scorpia is drawing stick figures holding hands, and...
Yes, and now debuts the iconic Super Pal Trio.
I love it. The Horde foil to the Super Best Friends. We have the Super Pal Trio.
Yeah.
And of course we have, this is me, of course, Scorpia. This is Catra. And I think this is clear. Come on. I'm a bit of an artist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sweet baby Scorpia.
I just love, she's always having fun.
She's always having
in
fun.
the fucking Horde.
In the fucking
She's having
Horde.
fun.
And so this is something that I noticed with the Super Pal Trio. We get kind of our first glimpse of them here, and then throughout kind of their trio-ness, and then it starts to get dark when they stop being a trio and they start being a duo, is that they are often, Scorpia especially, the two of them are used, Scorpia and Entrapta, and their foiling with Catra are used as the comic relief for the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Having your villains, your antagonists, be the comic relief for the show is awesome. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, no argument.
Because it humanizes them, right? And that's kind of the whole point of the show here is that,
it's very important for them to be humanized.
Yeah,
because of all the redemption arcs that will come.
Exactly. So we need them to be humanized. It also makes them a lot tastier, too, because we're seeing that, from this type of thing, we're seeing that understandings of good and bad are a little squishy-wishy here, right? Because it's they're just people on two different sides of a war that are just trying to get what they need.
Yeah, that's true.
So...
In some ways, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Scorpia really does seem like she has the real naivete that Adora had before Adora was awakened to the reality of what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, we learned later,
Scorpia, was born into this, exactly.
Yeah, just like Adora, but was born into it from a different perspective because Scorpio was kind of like... Scorpio was born into...
They were there before the Horde.
This is, yeah, exactly. Like, she probably, Adora had to work for her Force Captain thing. I'm thinking that Scorpia just got it as an inherited, like a title, like as part of the... Okay, cool, we'll let you have the garnet.
Like a legacy?
Yeah, it's like a legacy thing, yeah.
I don't know, but we should probably continue with the scene because there's so much more that's going to happen in this episode.
So we have Entrapta then slowing it down and enunciating every word. I looked at the rock, which is a crystal, and used math.
Wait, do I have to explain math?
Yes. Well, I mean, to me, but yes. And then Catra's like, okay, fine, fuck this. Did the crystal
Can you upgrade the weapons?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah,
just tell me what we need.
That's all I care about.
And Entrapta's like, oh, this is much bigger than that.
Mm-hmm. Etheria is not just a planet.
Yep.
Whatever the first ones did, it went deep.
And Entrapta is so excited that somebody cares about what she's thought about, what she's learning.
Mm-hmm. True.
Is really fucking excited about this and runs off screen. And I like this moment a lot because, yes, while Catra is super grouchy, she is genuinely interested in what Entrapta is coming up with. And I don't know. I like their relationship.
I definitely like that moment for Entrapta.
Yeah.
She's finally, getting an opportunity, even though it's in a horrible context, she's getting an opportunity to share doing her thing with other people.
Yeah.
And she's given rein to do it on a larger scale than she's ever been able to do before, but she's always had this larger capability that she's never been able to use.
Mm-hmm.
And purely in like a moral context, without like good or bad being part of it, which, in her world, it's not something that she sees. Just being able to do her thing and have people acknowledge her is just awesome.
Yeah, and that actually brings up something that I had in my earlier notes about how Entrapta's understanding of knowledge as like the pure pursuit of knowledge versus, ethical frameworks around gathering knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this speaks to my particular academic background, but I feel like you could argue that the pure pursuit of knowledge should be restricted to things you can take in and learn, and does not include being able to physically do things to the world and in the world. Making experiments is making a thing. It's not just learning from observing.
You are learning from observing.
But you're making something first and then you're observing
right,
it.
But that's how you're...
I guess I'm saying I'm in favor of like the pursuit of theoretical knowledge to any indefinite end, because that's not pure knowledge. You don't have to assign any more value to that. I agree with that. But of course, if you're going to do things, they're going to affect people or they're not. And if they're going to affect people, then you have to think about that. Right? Like if you're going to do an experiment that's going to give the entire town cancer, maybe you can't do that.
Okay. Yeah. No. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. And I agree. And that's what I mean by Entrapta's pursuit of knowledge, because Entrapta's pursuit of knowledge isn't, let's sit here and read, and read theory. Entrapta is...
Right, I know. She's a scientist. She wants to do experiments forever. So, it's great. It's a great moment for her, but unfortunately, it's a terrible moment for the entire planet.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
so,
I have become...
Oh well.
Yeah, it's, it's more of like the Oppenheimer stuff that we talked about when we started talking about Entrapta in System Failure.
Indeed.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Indeed.
Where's the line? Entrapta does not have the line. So
we're getting close, for the first time now, we're getting close to her potentially doing something really, really high stakes.
Yep. And this is we see very...
We're going to cut to the Crystal Castle.
So this is another big kind of info dump section where we have cuts between Entrapta and Lighthope giving us the world building info dumps that we need. And I was, structurally, I was really impressed by how this was done, both visually and in terms of the story writing structure of it, jumping from these two different characters telling essentially the same thing. It's a really great way to do exposition, because exposition can be boring as fuck. And we see this.
And this is not. This is so well done.
This is very well executed. So then now we jump to the Crystal Castle, and Adora is getting, who are you? And now we have the explanation of who the fuck Lighthope is.
Yes. She is like head technocrat, basically, of the planet.
Yeah, she is. And she was created by the first ones. So now we're learning what the first ones were.
Yes.
Jenny, who are the first ones?
So Lighthope says the first ones were explorers who journeyed from beyond the stars to settle Etheria.
Ugh.
And so this is the beginning. This is our first clue, and this is so loaded.
Yep.
But I hope you'll agree, Meph. I don't think we have enough info in this episode to really start a deep dive on the implications of how colonialist all of this is.
Right.
But it's because when I first saw this episode, I really thought that they were saying that, like, we are all the descendants of aliens.
Right.
These aliens came down, and we are all their descendants. Like, because there's people here on Earth who, like, have theories like that.
It's
and I was like, oh, okay.
The name of the theory, by the way, is called panspermia.
Panspermia?
It's called panspermia theory. It's that aliens populated the planet. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah,
all right.
I know some weird shit.
Yeah, of course. I love it. Okay, so I think it's possible to read this the wrong way at this point and to not even realize what they're talking about in terms of colonialism. But it's important world building.
However, the word explorers is a loaded term.
Oh, of course.
And that's kind of a red flag here for, people.
Yes.
Because, how do we explain, how are we taught about colonialism? How are Americans taught about colonialism, right? We're taught about it because explorers came from Europe to explore here. And that was a big red flag for me. Explorer language is used to sanitize colonial expansion.
Exactly. Of course.
While it's not explicit here at all, one could definitely be like, the explorer language is a big red flag.
Of course. No, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I'm just saying, I don't think the information we get in this episode is enough to go have a deep dive, and I don't want us to spend too much time talking about future episodes quite yet.
Completely agree. Okay, cool.
So here we go. So now Light Hope is ready to show Adora her destiny.
What? Destiny? Oh, man. Now Adora has a destiny. So we're going to learn.
Adora did not sign up for destiny, but she got it.
So we got all of the shit coming now. Are you ready for the big info dump about the She-Ra?
Exposition me, baby.
Okay. Light Hope says, you are She-Ra, Etheria's champion, appointed by the First Ones to protect and unite our planet. There have been many before you, but the line was broken.
You were the first She-Ra in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? That's the next line. And so the imagery that we see there is very much like Avatar imagery.
I was just thinking
in terms of the past lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though these are not shown as being past lives, it is a chain that was unbroken for untold time up until the one right before you.
Right. So, the She-Ra is the Etheria's champion that is appointed by the First Ones, right? So, okay. Here's my question. I'm trying to unpack this. You may be able to answer this. Okay.
Maybe the same thing I've been pondering over myself.
Okay, cool. And we're not going with what we learn later. We're going with what we're told here. Mm-hmm. So we are told here that She-Ra is Etheria's champion appointed by the First Ones to protect and unite the planet. Okay. Mm-hmm. There were many before you, but the line was broken. The last She-Ra, and we learned not too far from here, that there was the last She-Ra 1,000 years ago was Mara. We're also introduced to Mara, who's dope. And she was sent by the First Ones. Does that mean that there were First Ones here before that, according to what Light Hope is saying? And Mara was not, she was just there as a steward?
Are you saying, do I think that Mara was the only She-Ra that was from Eternia?
Yeah.
I've thought about that too. I definitely don't think Mara was the only one. I think they were there for a while.
So Etheria was colonized for a fucking long time before Mara showed up then.
Right.
Okay. That's what I was trying to understand here.
Oh, yeah. They didn't just touch down for 10, 15 years.
Right. They've been there for a fucking while.
Yeah. Because, they had so many buildings and, all of their culture and their tech and all their stuff was so left behind and
right.
It's stuff that if we unearth a whole city and a whole world of whatever society was here in Paleolithic times, now we have their remains. But see, this wasn't, also the scope of what they say is ancient history, we have to remember isn't really ancient history. They're talking about 1,000 years ago, it's ancient history.
Right. Exactly, right?
So say, even if they were there, I feel on the time scale of a show like this, when they're saying 1,000 years ago was ancient times, if they were there for 100 years, it would have been they had been there for so long.
Right.
Plus, they didn't build all that shit through the entire planet.
Yeah.
In a short time.
And we're only, dear listeners, we are approaching this from what Light Hope is saying now about this because we do, right now I'm just figuring out what Light Hope is saying now. Because we do learn a whole bunch about, especially in the episode Hero and in Destiny, in the 4th season, we learn more about what She-Ra is and stuff too. And Mara, we learn about Mara too, so. Yeah,
it's certainly problematic, as are most things in media.
Yeah.
Being problematic doesn't automatically make everything ruined.
Sure.
It's more important, actually. It's more important that we examine those things and unpack them rather than just avoid anything that has them because, you just got to face it.
Yeah. And I'm all about media critique anyway, and that's what we're here for. So, according to Light...
Yes, the juicy.
So, according to Light Hope, She-Ra is a Theria's champion that is appointed by the First Ones to protect the planet. Mara broke the line.
And stranded them in the empty dimension of Despondos. That's how she broke the line.
And then, for some reason, Adora was chosen. For some reason that we don't know right now.
We don't know yet why she was chosen.
Right.
We just know that Light Hope couldn't protect her from the Horde. That's all we know. That
right.
Light Hope couldn't get to her. She was chosen, but Light Hope couldn't get to her. That's what we know.
Right. And Adora has a destiny. Then we kind of transition to Entrapta's lab. And Entrapta gives us the skinny on what is within Etheria.
So we just got like the magical side explanation, and now we're going to get the tech side of the explanation. Right?
Yep.
That's basically how they're spinning all of this back and forth. You hear it once from the Etherian side point of view and once from like the techno-horde explanation side point of view.
Yep.
Entrapta is showing Catra and Scorpia her big model of Etheria. She definitely has not shown this to anyone before. Super excited.
I love that she took the time to make this massive model.
Yeah,
I love
of course.
Bless.
So she says the first ones didn't just settle on the surface of Etheria. Oh no.
Oh no.
Their technology runs all the way through the planet's core, which is like,
what?
If you're a scientist, yes, if you're a scientist like Entrapta, you're like, what? This is, unprecedented, and I could do an insane amount of experiments here, and who knows, what the implications could be, and it's very exciting. For a, little hippie fuck like me, it's kind of a grotesque image to think of foreign invading tech running through an entire natural planet full of magic without consent. I don't like it. I'm sure Perfuma feels the same way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's essentially, if we're looking at Etheria as an organic being, then it's now a cyborg.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And my last note is about the music and the score. The music, and I'm speaking as a layperson here, everybody knows, just the way it builds, it's like suspense is happening, stakes are rising, you really know that you're building towards something here. The next episode is the season finale.
Right,
and they're really letting us know it.
They're fucking ramping up, and they're giving us a bunch of info dump before the season finale, too. So
a bunch of revelations.
So then we transition back to the Crystal Castle here, where as we learn that the entire planet is First One's text from Entrapta, we now have Light Hope saying that everything on Etheria is connected. And now we have like these holograms of the princesses showing up. And so the princesses are granted power over the elements using their runestones. As She-Ra, it is your duty to bring the princesses together. Only then can balance be restored to Etheria. And then we see a fuck ton of princesses. Just a shit ton of them. And some of those silhouettes we recognize. We see Glimmer, we see Spinnerella, we see Scorpia. But then we see like a bull princess.
I didn't note all of them, to be honest.
There's like a cat princess, and it's like all these other princesses.
I remember people obsessing over the theory that Catra was a princess because there was a cat princess outline at the time.
Right. Yeah, like way back in the day.
Back in season 1.
Way back in season 1, all the way back to 2018.
Oh my god.
I know.
Pre-COVID, what?
So we see all these fucking princesses. We know that not all princesses have runestones, but we still see all these fucking princesses anyway.
So that seems like a much, better sell, obviously.
Right.
That seems great. Right. It sounds great. Princesses all in balance.
Yeah.
Planet functions as it should.
Great. We restore Etheria.
Hippie princesses all in a groove together. That sounds like a great option.
As the Avatar, it is your job to restore balance to all 4 elements. Sounds fucking great.
Balance always sounds good. But, in theoretical terms, you have to remember that balance can be achieved in a static way or in a chaotic way.
Exactly. But from what we know here, and we're not going to jump ahead, this is a great thing.
Yes,
and Adora says, that sounds great. And Light Hope says, you are correct. It is great.
Yes. That's another, creepy comedy moment.
And then we cut to Entrapta's interpretation.
Yes, just before we cut, I want to make note that Adora's still doing her people-pleasing thing. If Catra was the one who was not getting what she wanted out of this hologram, she wouldn't be like, oh, that's great, but the thing is, I can't wait to hear more, but the thing is, she wouldn't be politely trying to get her point in. She'd be like, shut she'd be like, shut the F up. I'm on TVY7.
Like, Catra would definitely say F. EFF.
Like, you don't talk now. I talk.
I talk.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas Adora, and that's kind of what, Catra does now. We transition back to the Fright Zone. Catra says, what are these supposed to be? And Entrapta says, rune stones. From the data I have managed to extract, I almost said data there. From the data I have...
if you want to. Don't let me stop you.
They regulate the planet through the princesses. They're directly connected to each other and the planet's power grid in a delicate balance. So I love this scene because we actually, the visual part of this is we have Light Hope saying everything is connected, we need balance, and then we cut to the scene that we see, the scene cuts right to not just Entrapta, sitting there speaking to the camera, but the model. And we see the model itself looks like a neural network. So it's like you see the visual connection before the neural web connection that Entrapta has of Etheria. Yeah,
it's great. I love the way everything is sort of being explained twice from two different sides. And you really see it's the same as in season 4 of Buffy with the Initiative. You see the way the magical side does things, and then you flip right over to the science tech government army guy side, and you see the way they deal with things. And they're both talking about the same thing, but it's profoundly different the way they talk about it. So her end point of showing Catra how all of the princesses and their power is delicately connected to each other and this whole grid through the planet. What does that mean? It means they're our best access point to hack the planet. Ooh.
Right? So Entrapta's obviously seen the film Hackers way too many times.
Oh. Entrapta has never been more excited.
Never been more excited because Entrapta can now gain all of this information.
This is the biggest experiment she's ever been able to do, and that's all it is to her.
Because she's doing it on the planet, on a planetary level.
Yeah, she's experimenting on the whole planet.
And then we transition back to Light Hope saying, when the princesses and their elements are in balance, Etheria functions as it should. And then...
But the
Horde is destroying us in their quest for power. There was no predicting what they'll do next when we just kind of learned what
they're going to
do next is Catra saying, hack the planet?
So the way Catra says it is like, bullshit, you're not really going to do that.
Yes, and then Entrapta says that there's only a handful of runestones in the whole world. And they need one, and Scorpion's like, I got one of those.
Yeah. Oh, geez, this is awkward. I thought everybody knew.
Yeah.
It's covered in Force Captain orientation.
Which no one ever went
to. So this is more world building,
Yeah.
This is my family's kingdom. Hordak crashed here. My grandfather said he could stay. My grandfather gave him the Black Garnet.
Gave it to Hordak, and then gave it to Shadow
Weaver. You tell a friend, he tells a friend. It's kind of one of those.
Yeah, and once again, this is another credit to Laura Nash being able to just deliver exposition like no one else on.
Oh, I know.
On Etheria, she's awesome.
She is the best. She makes everything entertaining.
Even exposition.
So Entrapta wants the Black Garnet. Please, and thank you.
She wants to touch it.
Yes.
And then Catra wants to know what's going on. And Entrapta says, if we hack the runestone grid, because that's the access point, through the runestone is the access point to the grid, you can boost the Garnet's power and use it for anything. And Catra's like, shit yeah, weapons.
Yep.
Scorpia is attempting to be some voice of reason and is like, I don't think Shadow Weaver will like that. And Catra's
I don't think she's trying to be a voice of reason. I think she's just scared of Shadow Weaver.
I mean, that's fair too. That's true. But she's like, I don't think Shadow Weaver would like that. And Catra's like, nah, she won't. So let's fucking do it.
And my last note is, oh, hi, little demon cherub. We didn't see you there.
Oh, hi, little demon cherub. Whose name is Imp?
Oh, I didn't look that up. He's little demon cherub to me. But I don't dislike Imp.
Yeah, so, and then he goes to Hordak, who, of course, Hordak knows everything.
So he opens his mouth, and perfect recording of the entire conversation comes out of his little demon cherub mouth.
He, opens his mouth like a Muppet, and then, sound comes out.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic little creepy detail that makes it seem more like it's not his fault. He's just a little vehicle, man.
He's just a vehicle, yeah. He's
kind of cute. I kind of like him.
He's a recorder with bat wings, right?
Yeah.
So then we have back to Light Hope.
This is very, they're really building the tension, they're building the suspense, they're building the pace. And having so many scene cuts is part of building the pace, building towards some kind of denouement.
Right, which and the music is there to work on it as well. So we have the visual cuts and the the escalating importance of the information, but this is still just people talking about it's just world building. It's just people talking about instead of talking to each other.
They do such a good job making it so compelling.
Yeah. So because
this is all exposition.
Yeah, that's all exposition. This episode is essentially an info dump, episode. But the way that they do it is really solid.
Good job. Good job, writers.
Good job, everyone.
Yeah. That's right.
So Adora's like, I get this, but I have one more thing to ask. And Light Hope is like, is there something you don't understand?
I could start over from the beginning if you want.
And then starts the recording over again. And
she
Adora's
goes
like,
back to the same place she was standing before, even though she knows Adora's not standing there. Right?
And Dora's like, no, I get it. I love this line. Light Hope said, have I mentioned that you are chosen?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you have. This was definitely something. And then we get into the guilt spiral and we get into the chosen one dilemma. Mm-hmm.
But before they get into the chosen one dilemma, Adora spirals out on her. And this is her usual thing. This is her emotional baggage.
Yes.
Everything that's gone wrong is my fault and I have to fix it.
Yep.
Everyone who's in trouble right now is in trouble because of me.
And therefore, I need to fix it. And Light Hope is like, you will be able to do many incredible things with training for years.
Yeah, with years of training.
Yeah, we have the Chosen One dilemma. Your mission is to fix the planet. Adora, my mission is to help my friends.
Yeah, and Adora does say, why not both first?
She does.
And Light Hope never really has an answer for that.
You cannot help only your friends, is what a Light Hope says. And Adora says, why can't you do both?
But that's the question. When Adora says, why not both? Light Hope never really has a good answer for that.
And then it doesn't matter, because then we go to kind of like the one of the central underlying themes and also the motifs of the show that they often do literally. Mm-hmm. It is, you are distracted by your attachments. Mm-hmm. So it is literal letting go of your attachments versus the strength of friendship. And I mean, we
right
see
up to the end.
Right up to the end. Right up to the last fucking moment of this damn show. And we see that is actually keep holding on to your quote-unquote attachments, because it is actually this power of the strength of friendship and love that will save the universe. But before we get to that part, we see that we learn of Mara.
Yes, we do. We meet Mara.
And we're like, wait, we know that name. That was Madame Raz's Mara. What happened to Mara?
So, of course, we believe what Light Hope tells us at this point. Why wouldn't we? Mm-hmm. She's the one who gave in to fear and faulty reasoning. Power was too much for her. She couldn't control it. She's the one who stranded us in Despondos and nearly destroyed us. And she broke the She-Ra line, obviously.
She broke the She-Ra line. She stranded them in Despondos because she could not control the power. It became too much for her mind, and she was compromised. So it's framed as if
it's very vague language.
It's very vague language, but it's also that sort of like framing of like that this happens specifically with women, right? Where, if they do something that is not within societal expectations, and this is definitely like a historical thing, right? Like they're seen as crazy.
Right. Yes. We
have Light Hope kind of perpetuating this patriarchal understanding of women who have too much power.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's very much that. I mean, we see it in the Dark Phoenix for the X-Men. Mm-hmm. Of course, Dark Willow.
Yes, absolutely.
Women that gain too much power and lose control.
Women who gain too much power and then have their emotions provoked too deeply.
Yes, exactly.
By intimate connections they can't let go of.
Exactly.
Because, their relationships are important to them for some reason.
Exactly. And we see that kind of narrative going with Light Hope.
Yes, we do. Yes, absolutely. You got it, dude.
Yeah, we see Light Hope upholding patriarchal understandings of female power.
Yep.
Cool. And colonialism.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, Light Hope sucks.
Light Hope already sucks.
Yeah.
And there are definitely several red flags in this episode. I think there's another one coming that I had a note about, but we haven't gotten there yet. But so Adora promises, though, that she will stay and learn whatever Light Hope wants, but she just has to heal Glimmer first, which is fucking reasonable.
Yep.
And then what's Light Hope's response to that, Meth?
Light Hope's response to that is showing... is putting Adora back into the trauma tunnel of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And then we have Glimmer shouting in distress as she fights through Shadow Weaver's restraints. We have the only gay moment that I have identified in this. One of Adora's biggest guilt moments was leaving Catra.
Right. Of course.
And it was the Adora, like that kind of like.
I know, the one where she just has that hurt look in her eyes, that shock and hurt that she just can't believe it.
Yeah, so that's my gayest moment.
Yeah, that's pre-anger, that look of hurt. It's just all vulnerability.
We all know that we know the gayest moment.
Yes, that's a good one. And I also have here that Light Hope using, her trauma and guilt-invoking memories as a way to convince her that she shouldn't leave is one of the first red flags for me that Light Hope is a propaganda hologram.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah, she is a holo... No.
Propagram.
Propagram. A propagram.
Oh, that's a good word. I love that.
I like that.
Yeah, because, she is just framing everything. We don't know this yet. But, she's framing things the way she wants Adora to see them.
Yep.
And that is, for deliberate purposes of manipulation.
Yep. Oh!
Just like the Horde did before.
Ooh, my brain just went to a place.
Yes.
Okay. I like when my brain does this.
Let me go there with you.
Okay, cool. Promise. We remember, you go through the Crystal Castle and you get your brain scanned and then you go through all your most traumatic moments, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that was...
With your best friend.
With your best friend. With your best friend.
With your best friend.
Best friend. But in that case, so is that part of the She-Ra training then? So then a prospective She-Ra goes in, sees all of their worst, their worst moments that they have to do in order for them to let go of those attachments and then become a more pure She-Ra without those attachments because they've moved through them.
I think that's possible. I also think it's possible that it's a more generic, you have to see whatever your greatest fears are and your worst traumas and overcome them in a more general way. And it might not be specifically about attachments. It could be either of those. Or I also think it's possible, since they were just running away and they had already gone past the spider area, and they were like having activated all the defense systems, it's also possible that that was part of the defense system to freak out intruders.
That was my next question too.
But yours could also be. I think that either one of those is plausible.
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe it's dual purpose. Maybe they like freaking everybody out. Maybe they're like, we already got this thing. We're using it to train She-Ras. We might as well use it to freak out bad guys too.
Yeah, I mean, that totally works too.
Want to get their value for their buck. For their, Space Invader bucks.
Or Space Invader bucks. Yeah, let's traumatize everyone that comes in here, friend and foe. It's just the trauma castle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, fuck it, let's just traumatize everybody.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you
right.
for that tangent, because cool. So, and then Light Hope says, you feel guilty for your memories. This is the other gaslighty thing, right? Light Hope emphasizes that you feel these guilt. It's what you said, your friends are endangered by your presence, so you have to let go.
It's better to let go now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before you get too attached.
Just rip off the Band-Aid.
Exactly. So more red flags from Light Hope, and then Adora's like, I can't just leave my friends. And then we go back to the Fright Zone.
Yep. The newly dubbed Super Pal Trio is hooking up Entrapta's machine to the Black Garnet. Shadow Weaver arrives and is not having any of this audacity.
Oh, dip! Shadow Weaver's home and she's pissed.
Oh my god. Everyone is scared except for Catra.
Of course, because Catra is like...
Catra is the boss.
Yeah, Catra's the boss now.
This is a minor gayest moment nom. When Catra, when Shadow Weaver sweeps in, everybody cowers. Entrapta puts her arms and hair around Emily. Scorpia cowers between her big claws. And Catra just stands there staring up at this much larger and taller person. And she's got a little smirk.
I have that too.
And that's a little gay smirk. That's a gay smirk. Yeah. I have one more later on, but, that's a little gayest moment.
Yep, I have that. I have that as a gayest moment, too.
And Catra says that she can do whatever she wants with this hunk of runestone because the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Patriarchy said so.
Because dad's home and dad said I can.
Yep, dad said so. And, of course, Shadow Weaver doesn't believe that. Hordak snaps on every screen. He says he gave them permission to do whatever they want. Oh, snap.
Uh-oh.
And then also, tiny interlude, he's petting his little demon cherub under the chin and he makes little meow. And, I can't help it. I like little demon cherub kitten.
Aww.
Yeah, why not? It's not his fault that he was born in the Horde either.
So then, we see Shadow Weaver getting more and more angry. And of course, the angrier Shadow Weaver gets, the calmer Catra gets, because we now know who has the power in the situation and who doesn't. She's like, are you really going to let somebody tinker with my runestone?
Yeah, of course. Let's just say that, Hordak says, I'm giving it to them. Shadow Weaver says, hell no, you're not.
Right, yep.
And, she wells up all the magic she has. She breaks the screen. So then Hordak's out of the picture, even though she knows what he said, what his judgment was. She doesn't care.
Yep.
Right? She is, for the first time, she's not just bowing down to male power. She is not giving this up unless someone physically takes it from her.
Right.
And she does not think that Catra is going to be that person.
Oh, she is so wrong.
But today is a new day.
A new day.
It's a new day for Catra.
This is just so deeply satisfying.
This is such a good scene.
We really do need to say that Shadow Weaver here, who has always been seen as being in control, to Catra's kind of like being in less control, right? We have Shadow Weaver being like the colder, in control one versus Catra being like more reactionary.
She is wild and uncontrollable.
And reacts to Shadow Weaver's actions. We now see this as flipped. Shadow Weaver is now the one that is reacting to Catra's actions. And we now see Shadow Weaver taking this place of kind of like wild anger.
Yeah.
And she pitches a fucking fit.
Oh, yeah.
Also, something I noticed now, which we might have brought up before, but I don't know if we have. Shadow Weaver, the power of the Black Garnet is electricity. And it is similar to Scorpia's lightning powers.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was the same power because she's connected to that runestone.
But Shadow Weaver wields it differently.
Ah, yes, because she is wielding it through witchcraft.
Exactly. Instead of wielding it.
It doesn't come naturally.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we see her wielding it like closer to how Scorpia, wields it. By like blowing out all of the screens and, like shooting bolts of lightning.
She freezes Scorpia and Entrapta right away. Catra's the only one who evades.
Yep.
Right? And then they have this incredibly powerful conversation where Shadow Weaver starts out pushing all of Catra's buttons, saying all the most hurtful things that she can think of. That's right, run away. It's the only thing you've ever been good at.
You've always been a disappointment. You've learned nothing from me. And then we have Catra getting her revenge.
She says, oh no, I've learned everything from you. And then I have a note there. I learned it from watching you.
I have that too.
Which younger listeners will not recognize. There was a bunch of anti-drug PSAs in the 80s because that was Nancy Reagan's big crusade when she was first lady, was, the say no to drugs thing. And
it was the dumbest shit.
It was the dumbest shit. And, we were really little, so it seemed really dumb to us too. But it was, the parents found the teenagers' drugs and they're like, where did you learn to be like this?
And it was like a joint.
Says, I learned it from watching you. And they're like, and I'm like, well, what are they saying? Are they saying that the parents are also hiding joints?
Yeah.
If that's true, then it can't be that bad. Why is everybody so upset?
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, you're fine and you're smoking joints. So Catra is like, you thought you were punishing me? You were training me for this day.
But before she gets to the finish, she has a few building up lines, and they're not all necessarily super important. But when she gets up to, and the way she says how to resist, that like makes my heart do things. I mean, that's a really powerful line in the way she delivers it.
Yeah.
It's like, I've learned everything. I've learned how to evade you. I've learned how to dodge, when to react, how to resist.
Yep.
And now it's your turn to go down.
Yep.
And I'm the one who's going to stand.
Yep.
She really steps into her power in a way that we haven't seen her before.
Yep. This is when we see Catra moving into her power. We saw the first part of it kind of in Princess Prom when she makes the plan. And then we have more of it in Promise when it's not the greatest way, but she does disconnect herself from, her association with Adora to make herself. And now we have her do it like disconnecting herself from Shadow Weaver.
Yeah.
And the way that she does it is breaking Shadow Weaver's connection with the runestone, which is a parallel to Glimmer's injury, because Glimmer's connection with her runestone has been disrupted as well.
I didn't think about it that way, but you're right.
And so Catra breaks Shadow Weaver's mask.
The little piece of the runestone that was in her mask.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like a video game. She finds the one blinking spot and hits it, right?
That's so funny that you said that, because my next line in my notes is KO'd. In old video games, they used to write KO'd.
Yeah, totally.
So as soon as that's over, and Shadow Weaver has been taken away, as soon as it's over, Catra turns to Entrapta and gives her permission to do the thing.
Oh, wait, before that, there's a really good beat where, Catra turns to Scorpia and says, "Restrain the sorceress."
Yep.
And completely detaches completely cuts any attachment that she has with Shadow Weaver. It doesn't say, restrain Shadow Weaver. She just restrained the sorceress.
Stone cold.
We won't have to worry about her any longer. Mm-hmm. It's a good moment for Catra.
Yeah. It's a great moment for Catra.
It's a great moment for Catra. And then we have
Entrapta doing the thing, and she gets to say one of her iconic lines. Let's get weird.
And dude, I don't know about you, but I will always get weird.
Oh, yeah.
I will always get fucking weird. I love that line.
Almost always. I love that line, too. It's a great line. I will almost always get weird, but I know where my boundaries are, and I am comfortable asserting them.
I think that's good. I think knowing what your weird boundaries are.
Yes, but most of the time, I'm there. So then, boom, she does the thing, and the thing is now afoot.
What is the thing? The apocalypse. She fucking starts the apocalypse, guys.
She's sucking all the energy from all the other runestones and siphoning it off just for the black garnet and throwing the whole world out of balance thusly.
Yeah, raw energy blast shoots through the roof. So Entrapta opens up the seal, one of the seals, and the apocalypse starts.
Yep. It's not full power right away, obviously.
No.
It takes time to boot up the apocalypse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then cut to Swiftwind, Comrade Swiftwind here, who's giving some high-level revolutionary stuff. I love this line. He realizes he's free. He named himself Swiftwind after the swift winds of revolution. I love that.
I looked that up just to see if it was a quote from something of significance, but all of the links were from She-Ra.
I looked it up too, because I'm like, that sounds like something Marxist, right? Like, that sounds like...
Yeah, exactly. I thought it could be a real quote, but it's not.
But it's good. So, Josie Campbell, thumbs up.
This episode, it's fantastic. But this whole episode is putting a hard beat on, the first thing the horse thinks when the horse can think is, I'm free.
Yeah.
But none of my brothers and sisters are free.
Therefore, I should free them. Freedom, equality, and hay for all.
Yes.
So, Comrade Swiftwind. I'm not going to get into Marxism now, but...
Yeah, it's too soon, but, we will talk about it in the future more. So that's just while they're walking along.
Yep.
But then, lots of creatures are running away from something. Something weird is going on, and Swifty can sense it.
Yep, and it's like, Swifty's spider sense is tingling. We have to go get Adora. Meanwhile, back at the fright zone.
Back in the fright zone. Entrapta confirms. See, again, they're experiencing they're experiencing the fact that the planet is falling out of whack.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the Fright Zone, and Entrapta confirms that that is what is happening. The garnet is siphoning energy at a near exponential rate.
And we're knocking the planet out of whack.
Yes, yes, and it's still growing. Planet out of whack. It's snowing in the Whispering Woods.
Things are getting interesting.
Yeah, so for her, it's like, ooh, the experiment is getting very experimenty.
Yep. And then we have, Bo's like, fuck, it's snowing. That's impossible. The seals of the apocalypse keep opening.
Yeah.
Swifty's like, oh, the bad thing is happening.
They finally find the Crystal Castle.
Yep. Like lightning is sparking from the sky. Cats and dogs living together. Complete anarchy.
Yep, I know that one.
Yep.
But they find the Crystal Castle, Swifty gets them in, and they find Adora on the holodeck slab.
On the holodeck slab, yep. I had that as the holodeck slab.
You did?
Yeah, I had it as I had it as the slab, but yeah.
Cool.
And Swifty's using the magical horn of magic.
Yes. To go inside her mind.
I love that Swiftwind takes his magical horn on his third eye and taps into Adora's third eye to get into whatever internal, like, mindy, holodecky, internally...
Yeah, to get into her mind.
Yeah, because they have a sacred bond that you can only connect by touching your third eyes.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course. That's how it's
And of course,
done.
in the meantime, Bo and Glimmer are busy fending off those giant robot spiders that there are, an unlimited number of.
I was going to say,
up in
do
this
they
place.
ever fucking run out of these goddamn spiders?
There's obviously like an automated factory that was preset. It's just going to keep churning them out forever.
It's like a really big closet somewhere.
Every time one gets smashed, it gets recycled. They just make another one.
Yeah, or they can like techno-organically like reproduce or something. Maybe there's like some sort of like mechanical AI thing. That is probably way cooler and way more thought than anybody had put into those.
I'm sure. I'm 100% sure you're correct.
Yeah.
But let's go into Adora's mind with Swifty.
So we go into Adora's mind, and of course, Adora's first thing is, "Hey, it's our horse. You can talk?"
Yes. First she says, "Hey, it's our horse. I am no one's horse." Right? We get reminded of that.
Right.
And then we get the "you can talk" shtick, and he jokes, "I see why you're friends with Bo and Glimmer." Like, yeah, because no one else would have that reaction.
Well, I mean... Angie didn't. Angie was just like, it's a horse.
Well, yeah, but she's an immortal angel.
Yeah, and we don't know if the guards did or not. The guards were like, something is here. Fair. But anyway, so Swifty's like, okay, cool, I'm here. That's great. We need to go. Yes. How do we get out of here? And Adora's like, I don't know. Hope disappeared. And then is like, and then is, I shouldn't go back.
Light Hope's right. All I do is hurt people.
Yeah.
Yep. She's doing the butthurt thing.
Yeah. And then frames the guilt, of course, into it's the greater good.
Yes.
And then Swiftwind's just like, that's dumb.
Yep. I've had the ability to form complex thought for like a week now. And even I know you can't help anything by hiding. Or no, I'm sorry, the line is moping. She says, I'm not moping. So finally I have a gayest moment, Nom. This is my last one.
Okay.
The way Adora's big, gay, indignant scoff of I'm not moping, all of that, she delivers that so well. I do not think I can reproduce it and do it justice. She's like, I'm not moping.
Listeners, if you could see Jenny, she is like moving her arms like in this incredibly particular way where she's like,
well, she was like throwing her arms around indignantly before she crossed them. Yeah, and all those guttural non-word noises that were part of that scoff. She pulled it off. I didn't pull it off. I'm not giving myself this nomination. I'm giving it to Adora because I'm saying she did it well, and I am not doing it well.
I thought you did it lovely. I wasn't making fun of you. I actually loved it.
I know.
I think both of you are excellent at lesbian scoffing.
Oh, thank you.
So you're welcome. You're welcome.
And then Swifty gives her what I have called the TVY7 10-second motivational talk.
Excellent.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Adora realizes that her attachments are not weaknesses. She didn't become She-Ra to fulfill an epic chosen one destiny. She did it to help people. So let's go help them.
Yay, the power of friendship, and also hammering home the overall theme of this episode, which is not only info dump, but also connection. So the theme of this episode is the interconnectivity of all things.
Yes, it is. That's, an easy, not a big deal.
Yeah.
Easy concept.
Sure, totally. The interconnectivity of all things, which, is pretty deep for an episode that is essentially all world building. Mm-hmm. So.
Also the topic of my next TED Talk.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm approaching it from several different disciplines.
Excellent. That, as TED Talks are wont to do. So.
As they are.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go outside of Adora's mind now.
Yay.
Because they walk out the door that she makes in her mind with her big queer sword, and Adora wakes up and immediately kicks all the robot spider ass.
Yep.
And they all come bursting out of the Crystal Castle on Swifty's back into the blizzard.
Yep. As they fly into the apocalypse.
Yes, and the strings and the horns are going to town to make sure we feel the tension and the denouement building.
Everything is
very satisfying.
Everything is epic. They have to fly to Bright Moon to see what the fuck is going on.
And they have this one little trope that I find both annoying and hilarious, that when they fly above the cloud line and they see the lightning and the storm clouds all around, they say, oh my gosh, it's not just here. Mm-hmm. It's the whole world.
It's the whole world.
Like, if you're above the cloud line and if it's as far as you can see, it's the whole world. How big is this planet?
True, right?
Yeah. But it's okay. Because it's time to hurry back to Bright Moon.
So they're going back to Bright Moon. Meanwhile, at the Fright Zone.
Yep. So they're going to get ready for their finale at Bright Moon.
Which, of course, we have some pretty classic villain shit here. Where Scorpion, it's almost like, like Mad Science. But the Mad Scientist here is in this scene isn't Entrapta. It's Catra. It's very much so like the assistant of what's happening? What do you think this is doing? And Catra, as the mind has literally the grin, I don't know, but I could work with this. Evil grin. If we stayed on that for 0.3 seconds, there would be an evil cackle, right? It's that is a villain
or that's
moment.
What you would expect, at least. I don't know if there would be, but that's the expected end of that scene.
Yeah, exactly. It's Catra's having a villain moment.
Yes, she is having a villain moment for sure.
Fuck.
We're all freaking out, whoa, this doesn't look good.
Whoa.
And Catra is having the opposite response.
It's hell yeah. Let's get weird.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hey Jenny.
Wow. Hey Meth.
What did we learn today?
We learned so fucking much.
Shit. Let's hear it.
I don't even know how to summarize it all.
Shit.
We learned about the fundamental interconnection of all things, whether they're visible to the naked eye or not. Mm-hmm. We learned about the fundamental truth of perspective in any story or existence. Mm-hmm. Your perception of the situation is not the truth. Mm-hmm. There is no one truth when living lived experiences. Mm-hmm. We learned a fuckload about Etheria.
We learned a lot about Etheria.
It's natural and social history.
Yeah, we did. We really did.
We met a somewhat sketchy propagram who, maybe we're not sure how we feel about yet.
We don't know.
Maybe some of us...
Yeah, we don't know how we feel about Light Hope yet. Yeah.
Maybe some of us already know that we don't like her. Maybe some of us are like, ooh, what's happening here? Only time shall tell. And... most important of all, we have learned that shit is gonna go down.
Shit is gonna go fucking down. And
our next episode is the finale.
We learned our next episode is the finale.
As excited.
I'm excited. Wow.
Wow, we almost got through a whole season, man.
We almost got through a whole season, and nothing at all changed in either one of our lives.
I know, right?
Well, folks, if you liked what you heard and you want to join us in Glorious Revolution, you can like and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at HeyAdoraCast, or you can email us at heyadoracast@gmail.com. We have a Patreon. Become a member of the Rebellion and get fantastic perks like bonus episodes, our very own private Facebook group, exclusive playlists, Patreon-only Zoom hangouts, and so much more. You can find the link to our Patreon as well as a link to this week's Spotify playlist Light Hope in our show notes or at heyadora.gay. That's right, .gay. And remember, queer joy is radical.
And queer love saves the universe!
We have nothing to lose but our chains!
Pegacorns of the world unite!